Now, on the next one, it sounds to me like this might have been done in Nashville, just from the sound of it, and that's Dreamboat. Am I right or not?
I don't think so. It may have. I don't remember.
It's got that Boots Randolph sax to it, and
It may have. Yeah, Dreamboat, and there was another one.
Hollywood.
Yeah, that's down there.
And also, would that be the Jordanaires on that, by chance?
Sure.
Okay, that starts out with a boom, 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 boom,
Yeah.
that bass voice.
Yeah.
I was wondering if it was the Jordanaires, but it all sounds like a Nashville session with maybe Floyd Kramer and that crowd on it.
Yeah, I think it is a Nashville session.
Yeah, see, I can tell.
You're right. Then, of course, in 1977, I lost my voice for 4 years from nasal surgery. And no one in the business knew that. No one but Dick Clark. And I had been to doctors all over the world, Switzerland, England, Houston, L.A., Boston, New York, everywhere. And they told me the same thing, I'd never sing again. Such physiological damage that I'd never sound. I couldn't. When I went into a studio 10 days after the surgery, and I was redoing some of my earlier Italian songs because I was singing better.
Mm-hmm.
And I wanted to redo them. Well, the sounds that came from my throat were like guttural. I mean, I couldn't sing one song straight through. I didn't have a range of 7 notes. And, I mean, I would, in the middle of the night, go down to the basement and try to sing, because no one would listen to me. Every doctor told me I'd never sing again. I threw out everybody's records, including Bobby's, which were my treasure records. I threw everyone's records out. I never turned their variety TV on. I always had the radio tuned to a news station. I couldn't go to see a performer perform or watch the Johnny Carson show. And music was totally blocked out of my life because it was too painful to hear pretty songs. I couldn't sing it. And during that period of time, a lot of songs were offered to me. Atlantic offered me Here You Come Again, which of course became Dolly's first hit record.
What happened to suddenly correct the problem?
Not suddenly, 4 years and 3 subsequent surgeries.
But it wasn't getting any better throughout all of that time.
No, it wasn't. But I finally found a doctor, thank God, Richard Webster in Boston, who said, there's so much damage here. This person who has ever done this is a butcher. You never hear another doctor say that. And he said, I am going to be as conservative as possible. He said, I'm going to do, if it takes 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 operations. He said, I may be able to get your voice back. But I can't promise it, and I have to be very conservative. So therefore, I'm going to do this in little bitty stages. So I would hire, after the first time, I hired $1,500 a week in Florida for a New York vocal coach to come down. The doctor said, well, maybe you should get a vocal coach. That was like so alien to my ears. I had never, ever had a voice lesson.
Not even as a child?
No, never had a voice lesson. So when he would leave, accompanist would leave, I would go to bed for 2 or 3 days so depressed that I stopped doing that. It was just the most painful period of my life. It was the single most painful experience, even more so than my brother's death, and I'll tell you why. Because with my brother's death, I had a sense of self-worth. I had to take charge of my family and keep everybody under control and make their lives easier.
When was that?
That was in 1981. But when I lost my voice, I lost my identity. I lost my person. And I felt that without a voice, I was worth nothing as a person. Thinking,
as you're telling me that story, reminds me of the situation with Timmy Euro. Do you know of her dilemma?
No, I don't.
Okay, you do remember her, of course.
Of course.
One of the great singers of the 60s.
I heard in my show.
Well, in fact, it's on the tape that you sent me.
Yeah, that's right.
Fabulous version of it. Well, she has some form of throat cancer, and she hasn't been able to sing for a long time, and she has pretty much just gone into hibernation. Right. Yeah, I mean, she's just devastated.
I mean, this 74, the rape occurred. So for 2 years, I literally did not leave my house, and then I had to be very public for the trial.
Mm-hmm.
And when it was so alien to me to walk into a Supreme Court in Brooklyn and have people ask for my autograph. I mean, it was just like such an unfamiliar sing at that point because I felt like such a private person.
Oh, your privacy had been invaded, of course,
Right.
at that point. Well, was there any connection between that and the nasal surgery?
Well, when the trial was over, Joe said, "You really, really, Connie, in order to get your life back together again, you've got to try to go back to work." And so I said, "Yeah, but I'm not going to go back to work with that problem, Joe." And I hear that there's a new surgical procedure out. So I went to the best, supposedly the best doctor, and that was in January of '77. And the result of that was just a horror.
Well, that was a disappointment, all right.
It was the reason for the breakup of my marriage.
Mm-hmm.
Because I was so totally miserable at all times, I couldn't muster up a smile. I was in bed all the time.
Well, I appreciate you mentioning that and how it ties in with things. That was not anything that I was planning to ask you about, but I appreciate you volunteering the information.
So that from 1968, when I had my first nasal surgery, which was cosmetic, through November of 1981, I was out of the business.
Well, no wonder so much attention was paid just a few years back then to your return.
That's right.
Yeah, because, I mean, it was in all of the papers and magazines.
Tremendous coverage.
Very much.
Except that, you see, in 74, I had a miscarriage, and I was moping around the house and chose to go back to work. So I found this very, very wonderful doctor in New York, and his name should be mentioned. His name is Wilbur Gould. Yeah, everybody knows him. Kennedy's surgeon, his ear, nose, and throat doctor. He's marvelous. And through therapy and conservative therapy, I could sing again in air-conditioned rooms, but not. It had to be like turn it off for 15 minutes, turn it on for 15 minutes. But at least I could sing again. So I went back to Worcester. I planned a nationwide tour, starting there, ending in Las Vegas. And then, of course, the third night of the tour, I was raped. And so, except for that, those 3 nights, I was out of the business from '68 until November of '81.
The voice on these is just fabulous, so I can see how great your voice is now. So are you as pleased as I think you should be?
Yeah, I
Okay.
am. Yes, Jerry, I am.
Because it sounds wonderful. These are just marvelous. What do you plan to do with these? Are these on an album, or are these?
They're on. I recorded on Malico, which is a Nashville label.
Mm-hmm.
20 of my hits, and then songs I wish I'd recorded.
Ah.
And so those were the ones I wish I recorded, I think.